Hey everybody, this is an idea I had for a new series of videos, I hope, regarding this. So this is a Minolta SRT 101, and this camera originally belonged to my grandfather. So my mom was going through some things recently back at the house, and she asked if I was interested in kind of taking this camera, which belonged to my grandfather, and I said, sure, you know, it sounded like I've kind of become interested in photography in recent years, and it sounded like it'd be kind of a fun thing to maybe revive this old camera, see what film photography is like. So my grandfather, he passed away when I was about maybe 3 or 4, so I don't have any memory of him. But by all accounts, he was a really great guy. He probably would have been very supportive of a lot of my hobbies and the stuff I've done in my life. So, you know, while that's too bad, I thought it would be a fun thing to take this camera, his camera, and sort of learn what film photography is like. And hopefully kind of, you know, rehabilitate it, so get a little more use out of it, that kind of thing. So I guess maybe I should mention my own history with photography. I'm certainly not a professional. I'm not even a decent amateur. I'm filming this right now on a Sony Alpha 6400. I got that about 2 years ago, and before that I never really learned anything about photography. I wasn't really interested in it. You know, we would use disposable cameras as a kid sometime if we went somewhere, and I had maybe a couple of just super cheap point and shoots throughout the years. But I got this Sony Alpha 6400 mostly to make videos actually, but it turned out that I ended up doing more photography with it, just for a variety of reasons. It was always fun to have a reason to go out and look at some kind of local shrine or something like that, or just some nice nature areas. I try to take, you know, decent shots. I put them on my Instagram account. It's nothing special. I'm not a pro or anything like that. You know, I've just kind of studied enough here and there to learn about, okay, this is what aperture is, this is what ISO is, you know, here's depth of field. But yeah, I don't make money from it. I'm not aspiring to be a pro or anything like that. You know, it's just kind of a hobby of mine. So it sounds like this Minolta was probably a similar, maybe similarly positioned, kind of for people who liked, you know, had a hobby, photographers, things like that. Maybe an actual pro would probably use something more expensive with more features and things like that. But so yeah, this is, it was probably, you know, I'll need to look this up, of course. It was probably made in the 60s or 70s, you know, here in Japan, sent off to the US, and now it's returned back here to Japan. The camera itself seems to be in pretty good condition. You know, there's some scratches here and there, but really doesn't look like it was ever dropped or anything like that. It sounds like my mom took it into some sort of camera shop, and I guess they said that the battery was had some sort of corrosion. It might need some sort of repair or cleaning up. But I did open it up. It didn't seem too bad. I was worried it was just going to be this corroded mess. But it seems like it should be okay. And yeah, aside from that, yeah, it's in very good condition for a camera of its age, I would think. You know, my initial impressions, you know, most of my camera time has been on this Sony, so it's, you know, this is the first time I've had a really anywhere near decent film camera. So of course everything's mechanical. You know, the shutter makes this very satisfying click, which I enjoy, you know, when you advance the film like that. I'll link a video I saw that gives kind of the basic operations of this camera. You know, you have to learn a little bit about it, but, you know, it's still not too different from the Sony. You know, you got the shutter button on the right here. You know, of course, there isn't any menus, so of course you have to set the things like your shutter speed and the ISO of the film on this dial right here. There's a little crank right here for advancing the film. Some other things I thought were kind of neat was that you can set the aperture. You know, there's an aperture ring on the lenses, so you know, this is, of course, it's, I guess, you know, back in the day, back with film cameras, you know, you couldn't automatically set the aperture or anything like that. You had to have some way to control it. And I've seen this on lenses in the Sony, but I don't know if there's any available in the APS-C line. It's kind of uncommon to have an aperture ring on the lens, but I always thought that was kind of nice. You know, like on my Sony, you have to set the aperture manually in certain modes, but you have to use it on a dial, which is not quite as satisfying and not quite as direct as doing it on the lens. So that's one thing I'm kind of looking forward to. And yeah, so what lenses did it come with? It looks like, so look like my grandfather got, this is a 58, this looks like a 58mm prime lens right here. And then there is, I think, this is it's a 35 millimeter prime. So you get quite a few lenses. This is, I think, a 200 millimeter prime, and it has a sticker from some sort of inspection on it, which I wonder if that sticker's been on it since new. It's falling off, but I really don't want to lose it now. But it's not really adhering very well. So a 200 millimeter prime. This is something I didn't know existed, but I guess there are pretty zoom lenses that are primes. So I think this is also, I think all three of the lenses I mentioned so far are Minolta lenses. Rockcore, I don't know if that's the name of their particular lens brands, or if that's just how they branded their lenses. And then this one looks like a Tamron 70 to 220 millimeter, or sorry, 70 to 210 millimeter zoom lens. And maybe, again, I'm probably showing my ignorance here, but I thought it was surprising that, you know, like in a lot of zoom lenses I've used on the Sony, you twist it to zoom, but this, you pull it to zoom. And it has a polarizer on the front of it, but I don't know how to detach it. I'm a little afraid to just pull it off, but I'll figure it out, I guess. So yeah, it's got this kind of nice assortment of lenses. It didn't come with any film, but of course, you know, any film that might be surviving from that day would probably be pretty degraded by now. But yeah, you know, it's got this family of lenses, quite a lot of filters. You know, one thing I'm realizing in digital photography, you know, with this camera, I set the exposure compensation, and because it's digital, you can then go into something like Lightroom and play with the exposure in post. But, you know, I'm realizing with film, you know, you have your one shot to get that shot, and you probably want to control the filters. You know, you want to control the light coming in through filters, being very careful about the aperture and shutter speed. So, you know, it's the kind of thing where it seems like back in the day you had to be much more knowledgeable about how cameras worked. You know, with this Sony, I can just put on the auto settings and really know almost nothing about photography and get great pictures. But, you know, back in the day, if you were using film, you really had to know, you know, the exposure triangle. You had to really have a good idea of the interaction of ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. You had to know what your film stock was, all that kind of stuff. So I imagine, you know, you had to be much more of an expert to really get good photos back in the day. So, I mean, of course, we want to celebrate the advancements in cameras nowadays. I can probably take cameras with this Sony, which would be, you know, much more challenging to capture on this. But I'm hoping this will be kind of fun and satisfying to learn how it works. So my current plan is to take it into some kind, maybe local camera store. I'll have to see. We just moved here a couple months ago, so I don't know what the local camera scene is like. But I think I want to take it in to see if we can get it rehabilitated. Everything looks pretty decent with this. I think the mirror seems to be, oops, let me put the cap on this before I set it down. You know, the mirror seems to be in pretty good condition. Maybe I'll have some close-up shots in a bit. You know, everything seems to work, seems to function fine, but you know, yeah, I hope there isn't any like mold or anything that's crept into the lenses or the camera body or anything like that. You know, seems to be in good shape. But yeah, I want to get it rehabilitated. I want to get some film in it and hopefully get out and take some pictures with it. And you know, I don't know where I can get stuff developed nowadays. I really hope I can get, I've heard that you can get pictures developed at a place that will, of course, develop the negatives, but also scan them so that you can view them digitally as well. So yeah, I want to get out, maybe take something that sort of, take pictures that are kind of period appropriate, maybe something that kind of dates from the Showa era, you know, in the 60s and 70s, something like that, and kind of learn a little more about film photography and just have some fun with it. So keep an eye out for more videos on this. I hope I can get them out faster than I usually get videos out, but anyway, we'll see you next time.